Alright, hello everyone. So today I basically just plan on doing a bit of just showing off my daily drawing routine and my daily warm up before I actually go into doing some full illustration or just any general drawing. So to start off, this is a basic warm up I learned from watching some videos from Peter Han, and it recommends you using a felt tip brush, and I think it's better to use a center brush. This one is, I don't know if you can see clearly, but it's a 0.5 micron. And basically what you have to do is hold it on basically a 9-degree angle from the paper and just draw a straight line, and then just keep going over the straight line over and over again and try to be as accurate as possible. Of course, it's kind of hard because my positioning in order to face the camera is a bit off. And yeah, you can basically see how the ends basically spread out, and you're basically trying to prevent that from happening, trying to be accurate as possible. Yeah, they're not very accurate. And what you're meant to do is slowly increase the lengths, like do a couple sets of short lines and then a couple sets of going over medium length lines. So going over this a couple times. 2, 3, I think this is 8 or maybe 9. And then after you do a couple sets of those, I think for me I personally do 5 of small, 5 of medium, and then 5 of a very long line. Basically 5 of each, around 7 to 8 times, maybe more if you want. And personally I recommend using a thinner felt tip pen because you can see your mistakes more easily compared to I think it was the thicker one. It kind of hides the mistakes because of the thickness of the ink. So now I'm just gonna go over and do this a couple times. After completing the lines, I usually go to another exercise from Peter Han, which is basically the same thing as the lines, but instead you try and draw a curve and then try and go over it multiple times, trying to make sure it's as accurate as possible. And for the curve and the line, for both of them, you have to make sure to use your entire arm, not your wrist. And basically you just do this over and over again. Same thing, curving from upward, I guess, is the best way to explain it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you switch to curving downward and back up. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. And then basically you do the same with the smaller lines where you progressively do different lengths. So this will be small, and then you move on to medium, and then large or long. And this is basically just to help you work on drawing curves better and more accurately. And for me, as you see, I really need to practice this more because I'm pretty inaccurate when drawing these curved lines. And after I do all of those, I move on to going and drawing a couple very long lines from one end of the paper to the other, as so, and varying the distance between each line a bit. And the goal of this is basically to practice drawing circles, and once again make sure to use the entire arm and try and get in between both lines, top and bottom, as much as possible. Like this one, I clearly didn't reach it, And you also have to make sure that both ends try to overlap as little as possible, which is why you should ghost a bit going around before actually placing the pen down. And this one I went over a couple times, which you're trying not to do. That was off. That was somewhat accurate. Yeah, just keep on going. And this is a basic practice to just help you draw circles better, and like just circles of varying sizes. As you can see, the remaining place of paper, I actually practice drawing different geometric shapes and with perspective. The most basic geometric perspective shapes I draw is obviously the cube, and I just go around and draw the cube in varying perspective as practice. And besides the cube, you can also move to drawing other shapes. For example, let's say a cylinder, and then just moving to, for example, having the top face show up more as you move up more upward in towards the camera, in a sense. And then maybe you can like rotate the cylinder towards the right, which would make it look kind of like this. And bring it closer. And basically you just keep like trying to imagine moving the objects in 3D, and this will, as I said, help you draw better complex forms. And maybe instead of a cylinder now, I move on to drawing a pyramid. And then you want to go into like more complex shapes. You can, or to practice form more, you can go like, let's grab the cylinder. Well, I'm move the sketchbook over a bit. And then let's see, the cylinder, we draw one end, and then we draw it curving around differently. Then follow along, draw the other end, and try to draw like the invisible, the side you can't see. And then do that for the rest of the body. So draw the outer curve you can see. For example, do dotted lines for the hidden side. And this just better allow you to understand form even more by seeing how a three-dimensional object warps around. And then another one I really like to do is just drawing a random blob like this. Just whatever, doodle something, a random shape out, and then try to draw the contour lines for the object. And this is just practice to, once again, help you better understand form, which can maybe help you do weird shapes or creatures better, and also lets you see how to, for example, maybe put shadows. So let's say, let me grab a marker. So let's say I want a shadow coming in from this direction. Well, I know that all this side of the plane where it's hitting will be hit by a light, and so all this curving inward on the back here will be have a shadow casted on it, so it'll be probably like yeah. This basically helps you. You can make it more complex by adding shadows, and this will help you get better at seeing how to place shadows for like more detailed drawings. And once I've basically done with all of these, I generally move on to doing gesture drawings because for me, I really like drawing characters, so I usually practice gesture drawing. But maybe for you, you could practice drawing environment. Hold up. For example, looking at the strange blobs again. These are trees, and let me focus. The strange blobs basically, and doing the cylinders with the contour lines basically help you practice drawing tree roots. And for this, I was basically trying to practice drawing form more in more organic shapes with tree roots. And this also just in general helps me get better at basic shape language, and because it's an organic drawing, it allows for more room for mistakes compared to drawing like more rigid like vehicles, planes, other cars, shapes, like I guess weapons, guns, whatever. And you can also do environmental, mainly with rocks. And this, because rocks are also pretty organic, we can have like more mistakes being made, but they're more rigid than, let's say, tree roots. So it practices showing the forms more, and it helps you practice drawing rigid bodies a bit better. And these are some basic practices that I do to just help me get better at drawing different shapes and environments more. And these are like the building blocks for drawing environments in a way, with stony rocks, mountain environments, and with the trees. And all this could just lead to you being able to draw more complex environments. And this is all a practice I learned a bit from FZD school, where they talk a bit about like how you go about drawing from more organic, simple drawings to more complex with vehicles and architecture and stuff. And yeah, so for me, I'm not that good at drawing, so I started from the more easy stuff with trees and organic matter with rocks, and I plan on slowly moving up to more and more rigid shapes and drawings, such as also humans, cats, dogs, horses, with like those more complex forms. So moving on to gesture drawings, I usually do very quick, simple gestures, and I have my computer or my iPad off to the side over here, where I have the reference drawing, and I just loosely, quickly draw them to practice drawing forms more loosely. And what this does is to prevent you from drawing very stiff poses, and it's a very simple general way of practicing anatomy. So I would recommend doing this for drawing, actually studying anatomy. This is just like basic practice. This is more so though for just trying to prevent you from being stiff while drawing different characters or people, more so than actually studying anatomy. And don't try to be very accurate with these. These are, I think I only spend a couple seconds or like a minute each on these, and generally I don't really lift up the pen unless I'm moving to a different section, just because it's faster. And usually when I'm done with gesture drawing, I go to practicing drawing some more complex forms. Well, not more complex, more rudimentary forms. And where, how should I say? I go back to the cubes and cylinders and all that to draw the characters. I still use the reference photo for the gesture drawings or quick drawings, but instead I try to break it down to draw them in very basic shapes. Then after I draw the person in very basic shape, I try to imagine moving the camera angle more. In this case, I guess I'll move a bit towards this person's right side, or in case my left. So trying to imagine that will be something like this. I'm trying to be accurate, but it's difficult because I'm still not good at this. By basically just trying to change the viewpoint, the view angle of the person. And what this practice is, help you try to, yes, it's hard to explain. This in a way helps you practice imagination and trying to draw a person in different perspectives, as well as better understanding how to draw a person in general and how to build a person up from imagination in the future in different perspectives, poses, camera angles, and whatnot. So, yes.